Hi guys, Tuva here. Welcome to this week's video. I hope you're going to enjoy it. I really felt the draw to be doing one on the great god Njord, the god of the sea and the god of wind, the god of prosperity and the god of peace. A wonderful god, one that you can go to when you need aid, but also give offerings so that he can help seafarers and those that travel on the seas. You can use the symbolic symbols of fish, of the net. There are all sorts of associations which I will go into. On the altar today, I have light, I have a candle, I have the sun because he is corresponded to summertime. So we have the sun, we have the two travellers, we have his sister on the ship. She travelled from him when he had to leave her, for Odin forbade their relationship. And we have Njord. We have the horn, which would have mead in it, and candles for light, obviously. So it's a very simple altar, but one that you can add to. So you can add to it things that come from the sea, like seashells and seaweed, anything that reminds you really of the seaside. And obviously you can also put a boat on there. The long boat with all the shields on are quite lovely. I'm thinking of making one specifically for Njord. He was a lovely god, but I'm going to do the correspondences first. The runes that you can use for him are Fehu, Iwas, Lagus, Manaz and Othella. So you have quite a few different ones that you can use there, and you can put them as offerings on the altar or alternate them, so you have one each day. His day of the week is actually Thursday, which is Thor's day, but it's also his day. Colour is sea blue. So you could use all the colours in the sea, so you could use greys and blues and greens. So yeah, and white. I mean, I have a white candle because white can denote any colour in magic, in any magical endeavour. You can use white. You don't always need to have a colour, but you can visualise it as for that colour. The incense that you can use is cedar. Cedar has a very strong smell, and valerian. So if you can get that, you can burn that. That's a really good combination. And valerian is very, it shifts your consciousness. So if you're doing a magic spell, if you're doing something like a meditation, that will really aid you. And you will smell like you've been around a bonfire, and I love that smell. I miss those days when I used to run around bonfires when I was younger. Lance, oak, moss, seaweed even. Seaweed is an absolutely good one because you can get it dried. Moss, again, it's very like dense with water, so it holds evergreens, anything that, you know, would remind you, reeds, anything like that. Also known for success in things. So if you really need to be getting some form of success in something you're doing, say you've got a project on the go and you need a little bit of a push, you need some help, he's a good god to go to. As I said about the altar, you know, it's a very personal thing, but I like to do a spell which is a knot spell. Now, I don't go by the words of the knot spell. I go by intuitively as I'm doing it. But if there's something you need, there's nothing better than a knot spell. But what I also do is I catch the knot spell in a net. Now you can use anything for that, guys. I mean, I use my strainer from the kitchen. Stones, another representation, is amethyst, is aquamarine. Makes sense really, all those different colours. But of course he was very mystical, so that would be why the amethyst would be there. So as you can see, you can put really what you like on there, anything that reminds you of him. And if you want to give an offering, the best way you can do that is to give maybe to the Lifeboat Association, because that's the sort of thing he would do. He would aid the sailors on their ships. Anything that is to do, as I say, with the sea. Make a statue, make a mermaid, make a seahorse, paint a painting. There are so many things, because he loved to look at all the beautiful sea and the scenery, so he loves anything like that. So if you was to make him a beautiful picture or a statue or something like that, he would really love that. And then to honour him with the mead as an offering, you could do something like that. But again, it's all about what relates within you. So if you feel drawn to one particular aspect, you can also use rivers. It doesn't have to be the sea. So if you know of a stream or a river where maybe the fish aren't doing too well, or maybe there's a lot of problems, then spend some time there and do a little bit of your own aid to help. That could be feeding the fish or the wildlife. It could also be just spending time and giving your energy to the water, god of prosperity and of the wind. And he had a real draw to the sea in a mystical way. And the rivers, can't forget the rivers. So he was a Vanir and lived there in peace and happiness with his sister. And his sister was the love of his life, and they loved each other so much that they lived together, and they had 2 children. One was called Freyr and one was called Freya. Now, when the war was happening between the gods, he was the one to bring peace by offering himself and giving himself as a sacrifice by leaving his home and moving to Asgard. He took his sister and Freyr and Freya with him, but Odin said, no, you cannot marry your sister. It is unethical, it is not right. You cannot have a relationship with her. To which he was left on his own with Freya. Freya stayed with him. The thing that Odin was trying to do was to let everyone know the way things should be. He was upset, obviously, but Odin knew that he would get a wife at some point in time. He found himself a lovely place, and it was by the beautiful sea in a place called Notum, and that means safe haven, safe place. And he could watch the seafarers doing their thing. He could see the whole world as well from where his home was, and he had a wonderful view. He could then decide where the winds needed to be, where the prosperity needed to be, and what people was offering to him, he could give back and aid them. So he had quite a peaceful, lovely life. He was known as the king. He brought peace to and stopped the war, which was great. So they did look up to him and call him the king of the gods. He eventually did marry, and he married a giantess called Scadi. It wasn't to be though, because they both had different outlooks, different wants and needs. And I do have a video on here about Scadi, and you get the story there. But what I would say is, through trickery, decided to marry him. They did give it a go, but he couldn't live in her place because it was too cold and icy. She was the goddess of winter, and she couldn't live in his place because of the sea making noise and the seagulls. They just couldn't do it, so they parted. and he was alone again, and so was she, but they seemed to be okay like that. He was also known to hold the spear and be very good with the spear, but he was also renowned to use a hammer as well. Interesting that, isn't it? Being his day is Thursday, Thor's day. There seems to be a little bit of connection there. Not a lot really written about him, but he is used in a big way. And I think the reason being is because at one time, when you had the Viking era, they were always out on their ships, and Njord was one that they could do offerings for and ask for safe passage, and that the winds would favour them and prosperity would be theirs when they got to the different lands. So he was renownedly used, and even today he is used very much so. He has a lovely energy, guys. If ever you want to contact him and connect with him, it's very easy. So what I thought I'd do, I'm going to drum to get some energy up, and then I'm going to do the knot spell. I just wanted to help you all out by starting to go through some of the gods and the goddesses, some of the lesser ones, some of the bigger ones. It's all good knowledge. Just get your energy up, because even when you're doing spell work, you really need to have that energy bubbling inside, coming to the surface, and that's what you need to do. So, and just let the drum speak to you, guys. Whatever rhythm you feel, just go with it. It might change. And just let yourself go. Think about what the intent of your spell might be. Is it a need? Is it a protection? Is it healing even? Waters of the healing, emotional. I feel that's the one that might be what people need. Almost like a marching beat. Now try to visualise Njord. Try to think of what he looks like. He is shown in many pictures as a man with a beard later in life, but there are also pictures of him as a young, good-looking man. And get that vision in your mind. Look into his eyes. And see and hear the seagulls all around him. You should start to be feeling that energy. Think about that bubbling volcano in the middle of your solar plexus, in the middle of your being. See it start to rise within. Okay, I don't think we need any more drumming though. So, feel that bubbling, because it's going to go into the rope. Now, I pick red because I like the colour red. For no other reason than that, guys. It can have correspondence of stopping something from happening, you know, or the blood of vitality, the blood of your power, the volcano erupting. So you get your rope or your cord, and just so that you clean it and cleanse it from anything you've done, you just wipe your hands down it and just say to yourself or out loud, you be cleansed. You are cleansed. And imagine that white light or water just dousing it and cleaning it. And when you feel it's been cleaned enough, it is ready for your new spell. a lot of people throw the cords away or bury them or do something with them, depending on the type of spell you're doing. It's not really that necessary, and also it's hard when you don't have a lot of money. So you can cleanse them and reuse them, and there are different ways you can cleanse them. You can actually have a pot of earth and bury them in the earth and leave them there for a little while, a couple of weeks, and then bring them out. Or you can leave them under the moon, which is another good way. So you get your cord. Now that bubbling should still be there. I want you to visualize that energy now rising up again into your shoulder, and do it like a breathing, like a pulse. So like with that drum, so it goes boom, boom, and as you see that, see it move and go to your arm and then down your arm, beat like in a beat. When it gets to your fingertips, that is when you need to focus on your cord or your rope, whatever you want to call it. Now guys, it can be any colour you want. If it was for prosperity, you could use a green one. If it was for like health issues, again, silver, gold or green or blue. If it's for something to do with income, job wise, yellow. No way is wrong, and that is something I always say to people, because they seem to think if it's not written in a book, then it can't be right. But you have to use your own inner understanding and knowledge, because the gods teach us and they come to us and they want us to use our own powers, our own way of doing things. Obviously, when you first start, it's good for reference to look up all the books, but really guys, you need to use that inner knowing to get your power going strong. So I now get seashells in my mind's eye. I see seagulls, the sea. I see Njord standing there looking straight at me, and that's what you want to do, that connection. He's not gonna be very like angry looking or anything like that. In fact, he's quite normal, a normal like person. You can talk to him. So what I like to do is get the rope and think to myself, now what am I going to do? Now this spell that I'm going to do is for moving forwards in whatever situation you're in, to get away from something or to move forwards. So I'm going to say the knot of one. My spell has begun, and you go like that with the knot and see that inner power of yours going into that knot and see it light up with that energy. Then you go down a little way and you say, think hard on what it is you want at the same time. That power is in there now, and it's going to move at the knot of two. See my progress come through, and you tighten it and see that light up with that energy. And then you come down away, you say at the knot of three, I now can see, and you tighten it. And then again see that light up with that energy. At the knot of four, I now seek more, and feel that energy as it goes in. And the knot of five, it's coming alive. Again, see that go tight, and it's all burning. Of six is now complete, and see it, feel it being complete, tighten it, feel the situation that you are going through, that you want to push through, is now complete. And at the knot of 7, everything is in heaven. That means you have your joy. Now, the tightening is knot of 8. We can now relate, which means you've got the answer. And at the knot of 9, you can do it together wherever you feel you need to do it. Now I feel the need to do it around here. So at the knot of 9, this spell is mine, and you tighten it. Now I'm going to get this because I want Njord to catch it. So in my mind's eye, I will hold it like that, and I will see him holding his net, the net that he casts his prosperity to, and I'm going to say to him, please push my prosperity through in this situation. Njord, I come before you this day, and you throw it, and he will take it away. Now, you keep it in here. Keep it in your net and leave it on your altar at some point. Now, I'm going to put mine at the edge of my altar. Now, the reason for that is that you have done this spell. It is done, but you've given it to Njord to mull over and decide what he wants to do, because you're including him in your spell and leaving it there for 9 days, the 9 knots. But every day you undo a knot. So on the day 1, to let it be made manifest, undo the first knot and say, I have it got, it is mine, or any words that you feel represent the fact that that is actually happening. And you go down through the days till you've done all 9 knots, and then you can take it off the altar. And again, the spell is done, it is cast, it is done, it is in his hands, and you will get your outcome. But keep it to yourself. Don't tell anybody. Never tell anybody when you've done a spell, because that undoes everything you've done. So I hope that's helped you guys. I always use that because his net of prosperity, that is him, and he will hold on to that and aid you every time you undo that knot. I would like to thank any new subscribers. I really do appreciate it, and I am gradually getting to my goal of 500, and I'm so happy that the channel is now doing a little bit better. And I'd like to thank all the ones that are coming back and re-watching my videos. I really do appreciate that. And to those that are always with me, always helping me and aiding me, and just by putting comments up. This is the Wednesday one. I normally do rune ones, but I thought I'd give you guys a little bit of a break because we've only got a few more to do. So I thought we'd have a little break and do a few gods and goddesses, and then I'll go back to it in a few weeks, and then we'll finish that series off. If people want me to do it sooner, just leave a comment below and we'll see what I can do. So, as I said before, I'm going to leave it there and wish you all well. So wherever you are, whatever time of day, night or evening it may be, I wish you the best ever. House of Belang.